I'm Ryan. I'm the head painter and artist at Counts Customs. I really love to work on motorcycles.
For years, Ryan Evans worked quietly on counting cars. He did not talk much, but his work spoke loudly. He painted cars like no one else could. Every design and every line was perfect. Then one day, he was just gone. No goodbye, no answer, just gone. So, what happened to Ryan Evans? Let's dive into it. Gone without a word. Of all the faces to pass through the world of custom cars, very few left a mark like Ryan Evans. He never tried to be the loudest in the room. That was never his style. While others revved engines and cracked jokes for the camera, Ryan stayed in the back, focused, precise, and quiet. On counting cars, Ryan was not just another guy in the shop. He was the heartbeat of the artwork. Every custom flame, every detailed skull, and every burst of color usually came from his hands. Danny, the Count Coke, brought the energy and charm, but Ryan brought the finishing that made it all unforgettable. They were working in different sides of the same machine, but together they made it work. That is why when Ryan vanished from the screen, people noticed. In one episode, he was there focused, hand steady, adding detail to a motorcycle tank. The next, he was gone. No message, no send-off, no final shot of him wiping his hands and walking out the door. Just silence. For fans who had followed him for over 10 years, it did not sit right. The shop was still running and Danny still showed up, but the man behind the paint had disappeared. People asked questions. Was tired of the cameras? Did something happen behind the scenes? There was an official word, not from Ryan or the show. His Instagram slowed and appearances at car events stopped. Ryan was always different. In a world full of noise, he stayed quiet and he never chased the spotlight. Maybe that is why when it got too bright, he walked away. Perhaps he needed space. Maybe he was never in it for fame at all. Now he is primarily a mystery. Fans still hope for a return. They still ask about him. His legacy on the show remains untouched. Those wild rides and flawless finishes, those are his fingerprints. Maybe Onady he will speak. Or perhaps he will just keep creating far from the cameras. Exactly how he likes it. How Ryan got on the ride. Ryan Evans was born in Los Angeles, California. He grew up with a love for drawing, skateboarding, and anything that moves on wheels. Later, he made his way to Las Vegas, where custom cars and bikes were everywhere, and soured the chances to do something bold. Ryan never chased the spotlight. He wasn't trying to be on TV. Long before the camera showed up, Ryan was already painting. People around Las Vegas knew him as the guy who could turn metal into art. His style was clean, detailed, and different. He didn't just paint cars. He told stories with color. At that time, Danny the Count Coco was running his shop, Counts Customs, and also showing up now and then on Porn Stars. His energy was wild. He loved cars, bikes, music, and anything with a strong personality. When the network gave him a chance to make his own show, Danny said yes, but he needed a strong team. He needed people who could build and design, not just for TV, but for real. That's when Ryan came in. They had crossed paths before, but Vegas wasn't a big place for custom car people, and Ryan's paintwork stood out. Danny had seen some of his bikes and cars and knew right away that Ryan was different. Every design Ryan touched balance. Every flame and skull seemed to belong there, so Danny brought him in. Initially, it was just to assist with painting. Then, the producers saw how good Ryan was, and they liked him. Without trying, Ryan became part of the show's rhythm. He wasn't cast as an actor. He was hired like a craftsman. He didn't do screen tests or flashy intros. He just started showing up in the background, painting, airbrushing, and perfecting. Over time, viewers noticed. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it mattered. People liked him because he was real. On screen, Danny brought the energy. Ryan brought calm. They balanced each other. You had the rock and roll car guy and the artist who stayed grounded no matter how crazy the builds got. The producers gave Ryan more time on camera. Slowly, fans started to learn his name. They saw his work and wanted to know more. That show Ryan got on counting cars. No big plan, no chase for fame, just talent meeting the right moment. No chase for fame. More than just a paintbrush. That was all Ryan needed to turn a car into something unforgettable. He was not loud. He was not flashy. He just worked. Paint was his language. Long before the show came around, Ryan had already found his lane. He mixed art with machines in a way most people could not. His mind was sharp. His eye for detail was even sharper. He could fade a flame so smooth it felt like it came from the factory. His work was not just about looking cool. It told a story. When counting cars began, it required more than just cars and jokes. It needed style. And that came from Ryan. He was not brought in to make people laugh. He was brought in to create. While Danny played Theric Star, Ryan stayed calm, focused, and still. They balanced each other. Ryan's style was quiet but powerful. He did not need drama to be noticed. He let the work speak. Flames, skulls, ghost images, and candy paint. He did them all. No matter how strange the idea or how short the deadline, Ryan came through. Danny trusted him with the biggest jobs for a reason, and he always delivered the right results. He looked like someone you would remember. Flat hat, black gloves, paint-stained hoodie, always locked in and always working. He was always seen with a small smile, a dry joke, and sometimes a sharp comment right after finishing a perfect design. That became his signature. While others pushed for screen time, Ryan stayed behind the scenes by choice. Over time, something changed. Viewers started watching for the paint jobs. They came for the drama, but stayed for the art. Ryan became a fan favorite without trying. People wanted his autograph at shows and events. The lines for Ryan sometimes stretched just as long as Danny's. Some brought shirts, others brought helmets, and some even brought their cars, hoping Ryan would paint them, too. His work had touched them, and his designs had meaning. These were not just cars anymore. They were memories. And that kind of connection cannot be fake. What made Ryan special in camera may be the same thing that made it hard to stay there. He gave everything to his work. Every job was personal. He was not chasing fame. He was chasing perfection. Some fans just wanted to meet the man who made old cars feel like fine art. He never acted like he a star. When people approached him, Ryan was always kind, quiet, and even thanked them. He was always smiling. Nonetheless, it was clear that he was not seeking attention. He never had. He just loved the work. To Ryan, every ride was a canvas. Even if that canvas was Aga's tank, or a classic muscle car, he treated it like something special. The work mattered more than the fame that was always clear. But things began to change. The schedule got tighter. Jobs that once took weeks were now squeezed into just a few days. Some could adjust, others could cut corners, but Ryan never worked that way. He gave each job his full focus, and that kind of art takes time. Losing that time meant losing part of what made his work feel right. People close to the shop started to notice. Sodded fans. By the year 2021, something felt off. Ryan showed up less and less on screen. Sometimes he was only in the background, sometimes not at all. The final shots of a build and the big reveal moments rarely showed his face. Online, fans quickly caught on. Car forums, fan pages, and YouTube comments all had one question that kept coming up. Where's Ryan? The show did not answer. He just faded out. When work stops feeling right. For a long time, Noon knew why Ryan Evans was no longer on counting cars. He didn't speak out, and the show didn't explain. There was no goodbye scene, no message to the fans. Point one day, he was simply not there. At first, many thought it was a short break. Maybe he was working on something behind the scenes. Perhaps he was ill or traveling. But as more episodes aired and Ryan still didn't appear, people began to ask serious questions. Online forums lit up. Fan pages started guessing. Where's Ryan? Became the most common comment under old clips and photos. No one had a clear answer, so people filled in the blanks. Some believed he had a falling out with Danny. Maybe they disagreed over money. Others thought he got tired of the cameras and the pressure of being on TV. A few even worried about his health, though no reports ever confirmed that. There were more rumors, too. Some said Ryan had opened his own custom paint shop. Others believed he had taken a job with another prominent builder elsewhere in Las Vegas. One theory claimed he had moved out of the city completely to live a quieter life off the grid. None of these were ever confirmed, but the longer he stayed off the screen, the more people speculated. What made things even more confusing was that Counting Cars never addressed it. There was no on-air goodbye, no farewell scene, no mention from the crew or cast. It was just silence. However, fans noticed those little things. It felt as though he had vanished as the silence lasted. Ryan had always been a quiet person. He didn't seek attention. So when he went quiet, it didn't feel strange until it stretched on too long. Over time, the truth started to show itself. Not in a headline, but in small details shared by those around him. People close to the Las Vegas car scene said Ryan was fine. He was still painting and still doing what he loved. He just wasn't doing it for television anymore. The reason, according to those who worked near him, came down to one thing: time. In the early days of Counting Cars, Ryan had a freedom to create. Paint jobs were not rushed. He had time to make them right. Every detail was checked. Every design had meaning. He treated each build as an art form, and the producers allowed him to work that way because they knew the results were worth the wait. However, television changed. As the show gained popularity, the pace increased. There were more deadlines, more pressure, and more episodes to shoot. Projects that once took weeks now had to be done in days. Ryan tried to keep up. But for someone who cared so deeply about the details, the change was difficult. He wasn't just a painter, he was a craftsman. When that level of care was no longer possible, something shifted. Painting under pressure is nothing new in the car world. Many builders deal with tight timelines, but for Ryan, the work was personal. If he couldn't give his full attention to a design, it didn't feel right. If he couldn't stand back, look at the piece, and feel proud, he didn't want to do it at all. The speed of television didn't match his pace, and what fans saw as entertainment began to feel like a grind behind the scenes. Paint jobs were still getting done, but the process no longer fed him the same way. The joy of creation was replaced with pressure to deliver fast. He began to lose the part of the work that made it special. To Ryan, painting was never about just coloring metal. It was about building emotion, telling stories, and making a connection through art. When that connection started slipping away, the meaning did too. Some say Ryan could have stayed and adjusted. He could have handed off more work or accepted the new pace, but that wasn't who he was. He never wanted just to finish a job. He wanted to make something special. Walking away wasn't easy. He had spent years helping to shape the look of the show, and his work had become an integral part of what made Counting Cars stand out. However, in the end, he chose peace over pressure. This wasn't about fame or money. Ryan never seemed interested in either. He didn't care about trending clips or reality TV moments. He cared about the paint and about the feeling of getting it just right. When that was no longer possible, he stepped back. Some fans still hope for a clear answer. They want a statement, a final word, but Ryan hasn't given one, and maybe he never will. That silence, in a way, explains everything. His decision to leave was not a dramatic moment. It was a quiet choice, a way to protect his craft from becoming something he didn't recognize. According to those who have seen him recently, he appears to be at peace. He continues to paint, taking on select projects, collaborating with local builders, and mentoring new artists. The work hasn't stopped. Only the cameras have. Ryan's world now moves at his speed. No producers watching the clock. No deadlines that cut corners. Just him, his tools, and the metal in front of him. Some say he might return to television one day. He hasn't ruled it out. He has said that he would consider it, but only if the format lets him be true to who he is. That means no shortcuts, no stage drama, just the work. If that happens, fans will welcome him back without hesitation. But if it doesn't, that's fine too. He's already left his mark.